Still working through my stash, my dead pile, are these two pieces. I think they were part of a cutting board. You can feel the grease. And they're kind of like, I don't know. I thought I need Chris's help on this because I don't use the table saw. I'm going to have him cut to make like a corner shelf. And we'll see. It's not going to be big corner shelf, but just something to use them because they're not square. They're going to need fresh cuts anyway. But I love the rounded angle of them. So, and the little hole. Why they were split, I don't know, but we'll make it work somehow.
All right, so I got to square this end off. Then I'll lay that flat here. That'll make this 90 also. Then I can cut the 45 through here or this way, whichever way you want. You want to save this piece? Mm-hmm. Okay. Because we're only going to get 2 then out of it, the top and the bottom.
We'll see what it looks like. Yep.
Okay.
It might fall apart too. So I knew that these were probably going to fall apart. So I'm going to get them glued back together. Okay, I got them all 4 clamped up, so clamped with tape. Okay, so we are glued back together now. Let them sit overnight, but you can see some are rounded and some aren't. So I need to kind of mark. Yeah, I mean like an inch or so in between. Is that like an inch, 3/4?
And then it's just as easy as putting a straight edge on the bottom to make sure they're square. Make sure they're equally spaced apart like they were.
Yeah, just a little. Not terribly angled, but
just from now on.
So he has the boards cut, so as you see, it's pallet wood. We know it's rough. I like the rustic look, but we don't want snaggles. Splinters, yes. So we're going to go ahead and get...
All right, so this is the hard part, is trying to nail something that's not square. It's triangular.
Yes. I always have these fun ideas.
You got different ideas of fun.
Oh, yeah, well, I didn't want to waste that old cutting board wood. That was my hard, like, what can I do with this? Especially since it wasn't square, as you saw. So he's trying to do it standing up so we can make sure that the bottom is level. So he's doing this on the bottom, having it stand up so that you know it's sitting flat. I'm having to do a little repair job. I had to sealed this in with Bondo, so must have been one of the pieces that I didn't that stayed together. I thought they were going to stay together, and then once Chris nailed it, nope, it said no. But it was okay because I'm going to paint it anyway, but now it's solid. Right now, I'm going to give this a nice stain job with the Waverly concoction, which is antiquing wax, with Waverly ink chalk paint, which is black. Even though I'm using Waverly antiquing wax in this mixture, and it's mostly the ink takes over, but I like that because that gives it that aged look that I'm looking for. So wherever I sanded it, we're just going to fill that in so it doesn't look all new. Now I just need to wait for it to dry. So I think for the little corner, I can imagine it like a little bit lighter of a green. Love the Cheshire paint, which is a nice light, fun green color. Perfect for spring. So I'm going to do equal parts the powder. I'm looking for a very chippy look for this because I want you to see a lot of that wood. But for right now, we're just going to mix up the paint equal parts. Okay, so now it's aged, stained, smooth, but I want it to have a chippy look, so I'm going to be using some of the Sweet Pickins beeswax, which is much more, I don't know, like, to compare it, it's not candle wax. It is beeswax, so it's more melty, more, I don't know, I'm not sure the word. If you could think of the word of how to describe it, please tell me, but it is definitely gives it more of the chippy look that I'm looking for. So I'm just going to run it over everything. Okay, just going to get started. So I wanted that light, almost white look, and Cheshire is perfect for that. So I will take a smaller brush to get into that little area. That way I don't make a drippy mess on the other side too bad. Okay, I'm going to go in with my second coat now. The thing with when you're doing like the beeswax or candle wax, you can't really hit it with the heat gun or you're going to melt the wax and spread it around. But it does need it 2, maybe 3 coats. We'll see. We'll see after the second coat gets on here. So before sanding or anything, you can see lots of chippiness from the wax. I like to go ahead and seal in just with some clear coat. It's a light paint, so I'm just going to use the matte finish by Crayon. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and start to sand it, and then we'll see what comes off. Okay, so now we have it sanded, beautiful distressing. So if I don't seal it in with the clear coat first, probably more of it will come off, but that's not the look I'm going for. I just want a little bit of age. So now I'm going to go back in with the Fusion Aging Wax, and we're going to just give it a little bit more patina, get into those little crevices, all the little distressing, pop out some of that wood. Don't get nervous. We'll go back in with clear coat so it's not it's not so dark. Clear. See, to me, that gives it the true age. I mean, look at from here to here. It just gives it that true age. Much as I love this green piece, nobody else does. I love that it was green. I don't know if it's because it was burnt at one time or because it's probably a shelf that should be hung, maybe, I don't know. But it's not stable. It's wonky. So I asked Chris if he'd cut me a piece of beadboard to back it, which will strengthen it. Make another cut here for me to make it flat, and then cut these off. So we're just going to totally change. I know it's got a little brokenness. That's character. So he has a leftover piece of shiplap, which I don't. I wonder if you can run it the other way, so you can see the lines. Okay, so I like the color that this is, but so I'm going to try a little bit of artichoke, but I think the artichoke might go too dark. It may not be bright enough, so I'm going to do 1 scoop of that. Then I'm going to do in the pickle, which is a brighter green. So we're going to go 2 scoops of that. Mad scientists here. And then to lighten it up, I'm going to do a little bit of antique ironstone. That's the fun of milk paint with the powders, how you can mix them all together. So I did 4 scoops total, which means it's equal parts water. So I need 4 scoops of water all together and see if we come. Not terrible. I think that'll be close enough. Okay, so since I like most shiplap, people are painting white usually, but I want to go ahead. I tried to sand it, didn't really scuff. I mean, it scuff sanded okay, but I want to make sure my paint is going to crackle a little bit or have some character. So I'm going to seal it in with a couple coats of shellac. Okay, we'll start painting. See how we did. Yeah, I'm hoping that with the shellac it'll give it a little bit of character maybe. If not, it'll be what it'll be. But and see if I can get this to dry to get on the second coat. Okay, I do think it'll get some character. So just going to mist it down with some water so that my paint goes on and doesn't take the other paint off. So I did spray this with shellac also, just 1 coat, and we'll see what covers it. But yeah, we want the colors to match close enough, even though we have 2 different bases here. So that's why I didn't have him attach the back yet, because it's just easier to do cubbies if you can go all the way in. I really didn't get a ton of crackle on this piece. There's a little bit of chippy here. I'm going to do a little fun something there, but after we get it all together. So I'm going to go ahead and wax the piece. I think I'm just going to use aging wax. Not really going to distress it too much because this has a different color underneath than the shiplap does. So yeah. So I'm just going to aging wax and see what it looks like. So it's kind of like painting it. I got to get in all the corners again. Oh, okay. Wax on, wax off. I think that's going to give it enough detail though, because there was a lot of texture in the piece anyway, in the wood. So this did get some crackle. The other piece, it did not, but we're going to go in with that same aging wax. Sometimes when you buff it, it starts to come out. You never knew. Okay, Chris is going to start attaching. So yep, I'm making a little patch of some of that copper. I'm just trying to get the shape of the, because why not? I could have fixed it with Bondo and painted over it, but sometimes it's nice to add character. See, and then we'll just attach it there. So I just picked these up at auction and they're just finials, but I saw them like as little legs to make another riser on a pallet, out of pallet wood. This time they're not attached to wood, so we can run another piece in Chris's home. So he's helping me in the shop because I cut, but I rather him cut. So yeah, so he's gonna cut whatever bad is on the board.
This is the worst board here, so I'll cut at this piece to roughly here, figure out what the length is, and then I'll cut the other ones that way.
And then yeah, then we'll cut another one to go this way so that'll support the legs. Now that he has them all cut down, I'm going to go ahead and give him a sanding before we're getting them all together.
I'm going to mount these by screwing them, gluing them onto the bottom of this. And the screws will be on this side, so you'll never see them because they'll be sandwiched in between the wood when I get done. What I do is make sure that I have proper spacing in between each one. So I just set this for 3/4 of an inch. Add a little glue.
Let me hold.
Piece on.
He doesn't even need me.
And that's just to make them so they all look uniform when it's all said and done. The countersink bit. Yvonne got this for me for Christmas a while ago, and I can actually set the depth of how deep the countersink goes. So that way when the screw head goes in, it'll actually sit flush or below flush on there.
I think come out a little bit more.
Back in?
Yep.
Like I said, a 1.5 inch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so since Chris helped me out, I probably would have put them together and painted them first, but it doesn't matter how you paint. I'm going to paint the legs. So at the time I'm making this video, the other one that I did already sold. So I'm going to tape off the area because I'm going to leave that wood look, the natural wood that it is. Well, not quite the natural wood it is, but. So for these legs, I'm going to do white swan, and we'll see how that turns out. I didn't seal these in with anything, so the paint should soak right in, but we can, I like the thought of the distressing them, especially since we're using pallet wood, which is old recycled wood. Nice thing about DIY paint is you can use a heat gun, blow dryer to dry it in between coats. Even though one coat may look like enough, I'm going to put 2 on. Especially since we're going to be wet distressing it. You don't want it to take all the paint off. Before putting the second coat, I'm just going to take a mister bottle of water and just spray it down just a little bit. And then go in and add that second coat, and that'll help it glide. And that first coat will attract that second coat, and we should be good with 2 coats on this. Okay, now I'm just going to take a wet cloth, and we're just going to see what comes off. Smooth out the paint like it's been on there. Again, after the water distressing, I need to go ahead and dry it. Now that my white paint is dry, I want to seal the white paint in, so I'm going to cover this up because I don't want to seal that in yet. So I'm going to use some of the Crayon matte finish. It's white. Sometimes the crayon will turn chalky on me when my colors get darker, and it's more inexpensive than polyacrylic, so if I can use it, I will use it. If not, I'll use polyacrylic when I get to darker colors. And I'm going to go ahead and take the tape, look to see if there was any spots where I might have accidentally got paint on it. Get that sanded off. Okay, so when I talked about staining this, as you saw, I kind of was rounding the edges now that it's all together like it's been together for a while. You know, like when you're rounding them, like just taking your sander down, giving it a little bit of a bevel. So my staining is good. When it comes to pallet wood, I'm going to use that Waverly concoction of antiquing wax and ink, chalk paint. But unlike another project I was working on in this video, this is going to be its final color. But if we do it on the top, we got to do it on the bottom. And that's why I wanted to seal that in first, so then I'm not making my chalk, or I'm not making my DIY paint, my white paint colored. Now that I have it on, I just need to let it dry. Okay, look at that, yummy. So I have some of this copper that has been aged, and yes, we are going to roll it out and put it on here. I'm going to try to find like semi-flat pieces of this. It's thinner than you think. So, and then I'm just going to take staples to hold it in, and I can age the staples with some patina. That's not any big deal. And I have some sage leaves. So it's kind of the same green that's kind of on here. So I'm just going to take where the staples were with my finger and just rub it on there. And I know it looks like a big clump right now. It already had this kind of glider's wax paste in the rust. Just a chunk of it. I don't know why it chunks up, it just does. And then I'm just going to rub it on where I put that, because there is rust patina in here. And then take that brush again and then just blend it. And not that it's going to make the staples like magically disappear, but it'll blend them and not make it look like they're brand new sticking in there. So now I'm going to seal this in, one because I have the metal and then I put the patina on top of it with some of the Weather Defense metal spray, but it also works for wood, and it's nice because it soaks into the wood, but it doesn't leave like a waxy or doesn't leave a chalky finish. Sometimes when you've stained like with the Waverly and then you try to seal it in, sometimes you get that like chalkiness, but this does not do that. The last thing I have to do after spraying that Weather Defense clear coat on here, it'll be kind of raised and bumpy, so I'm just going to take a little bit of steel wool. We want that to feel nice and smooth, and that'll just smooth those little, like where it raised the grain of the wood from the clear coat. It doesn't take much, just a little. Nope, I do not like to use table saws. I use chop saws, the bandsaw, but when it comes to like cutting boards on the table saw, that is above my pay grade. I need Chris to help me. So luckily he was home when I was inspired to make these projects. Pieces and parts of salvage finds into beautiful home decor. Yes, that riser, the first one that I made a little while back, sold right away, luckily, knock on wood. You never know. So I'm not going to mass produce them, y'all. We have to see one by one. And then, I had these like little square cutting boards they were nice wood, and I love the beat up character of them. And and I'm like, they weren't square. And, I know that he is more precise than me. Sometimes may seem like I'm more of a measurer, but sometimes I do eyeball and like I needed to use the rounded part. Anyway, I'm glad he was here to help me help cut the pallet wood, that I could get my vision out of my head into plans without ever writing it down, the poor guy. But anyway, that little corner cabinet is so super cute, and I love that little green cubby, those cubby spaces. But yes, it was wonky. Yes, it did move. It wasn't secure. So yeah, cutting it flat, just making it flat, and then putting it back on it to stabilize it. I tried to match the colors best as I could, because that's what I really liked about it, was the color. I love cubbies anyway. Don't like painting cubbies, but I love cubbies. So thanks for watching today's video. Grab a buddy that may have a little bit more skill set than you and get into your stash and get some projects done. So thanks for watching. We will see you next time, and you can see what we're up to. Bye.